So let's start. The theme of the week is how to create a purchase order. And today we'll create a purchase order from scratch. So let's go into a blank template. So here's a blank template, and I already have some fields mapped. Here I have an Airtable connection, and it's connected to an Airtable base I have. Let me show you quickly how it looks. And it's a simple purchase order base. I have here the fields I want to display in this purchase order. I have my line items, vendor information, employees information, and essentially it. So let's go to the template and start building. So at the top, we'll start with a simple header. So let me add here just 2 columns. I'll have the information from the company. So let's add here text element. Work around with the spacing. I'll have here the name of the company. Let's give it some style. Make it bold. Increase the size. I may change the font. Apply it to the body of the template. So then it's applied to the entire template. Enter. Okay. Let's add here some company information. Just the size a bit. Maybe make it smaller. Have another color for the text. Lighter gray. Okay. And here we can have the purchase number. Let me just duplicate this to maintain the formatting. Line it right. Here I'll just have purchase. And here I'll have the purchase order number. Align it to the right. Make it bold, increase the size. Here at 25. And this will be a dynamic information, so we'll drag in the PO number. Okay, let's have a quick look to see how the data is coming along. Okay, good. Now, continuing with the header, let me add here another row. To mark the section, I'll add a top border right here. Maybe add a spacer here to make it look nice. And let's continue with the header. So I'll have here 3 columns holding the issue date, the required date, and the status of the purchase order. So let me duplicate it here. So I have 3 columns. So add here to have the issue date. Okay, let's give it a nice look. Put a gray color, decrease the font a bit. And I'll have the same for the other items. Let me just decrease the spacing a bit. Okay. And here the status. So here we have dynamic information. So I'll pull from the date I have. So order date. Let me add another text element here. It will be easier. And I'll have here my issue date. And then my delivery date. Let me do this here. It'll be easier to maintain the formatting. And then my status here. So let's give it a nice format. Same here. And let's see how it's coming along. Okay, good. Maybe center this content will make it look nicer. You have a simple header here, And now let's go with the vendor and the company information. So let me add here a spacer. Okay. I'll also increase this one a bit. And let's maybe add some spacing to the columns. So let me access the columns, select them, and increase the spacing a bit. Okay. Let's have a quick preview. Okay. We're getting there. And now let's add some information from the vendor and again from the company. So I'll have here 2 columns. I'll add another column to the middle just to give it some spacing. So let me put here 45, 45, and the middle one will have 10. This will be my spacing. So to these ones, I will add a background color. Let's go to the properties panel. Yeah, this looks good. And now let's add some information. So let's add the vendor information. Let me also give it some style. Let me decrease the font a bit. Have grayish color. And now let's have the vendor information. Add another text element here. And this will be dynamic data. So let me pull this from here. Also give it some style. Let me have it bold. Increase the font size. And now let's have the address information of this vendor. Add another text element. And have here the address. Then have the representative name and their phone number. Okay, let's have a quick look, see if we need to tweak a few things. Okay, good. Let's have a grayish color here too, just to make it look nice. Let me decrease the font a bit. Maybe some rounded corners.
Nice.
Okay. Same here. And now, well, to make it easier, we can just select this column, duplicate it. Let me delete this one for now and place it here. Okay. Just duplicate it to make it look, yes. Set up the spacing again. Okay, this is not dynamic information. This will be static information since it's coming from the company. So I have here ship to and get the address. Okay. This might be dynamic information since it's coming from the department. So let's have this here and see how it's coming along. Okay, good. Let's just tweak the spacing a bit. Let me decrease this here. Maybe add here some more. Okay, maybe make this a bit darker. And see how it looks. Okay, good. We're getting there. Let's move to the important part of the purchase order, which are the items. So let's build this together. Let me have here another spacer to have the section of the items. So maybe here. Okay. And now let's set up the header. So I'll have here a row with a column, and I'll have some information being displayed there, which will be SKU, item, quantity, unit price, and amount. So I'll have 5 columns, one for each of this data. And let's have here the static header. So this will be the SKU. And let's add some style. Let me decrease this font a bit more. Okay. Okay, and now let's have the other items. I'm just duplicating the text element to have the same formatting across the other items. So I'll have here the description and then the quantity, unit price, and the total. Now let's tweak the column width a bit. This doesn't need to be that big. Let's center. Let's put this information here. Okay. Let's have it centered. Same for the unit price. And now I'll just select this row right here to maintain the spacing of the columns and duplicate it to have the line items. So let me just reset to the original color. Yeah, this one can maintain the gray color. Let's have it here. And now I'll replace with the fields. Okay, so now let's go to the fields panel and drag in my information. SKU, item description, quantity, unit price, and amount. Now we'll set up the loop to make this item repeat for each item in the list. So we'll loop it over a line item since these the list field that contain the information I want to display. Let's give it a nice formatting to the currencies. Okay, we can give it a different font. Make it look nice. Same here. Let's see quickly how it's coming along. Okay, so we are getting there. I'll just add some spacing here. And let's have it nicely displayed. Okay, now it should be nice for us to have some kind of section between the header and also between the elements. So let's add here a bottom border. And now, since it's a repeating item, we want to display the bottom border for each item. So we'll set up the bottom border in the column level. So for each column of this repeating row. So let me select all of them. Click here. Let's add a lighter border. Okay, maybe thinner. Good. Let's see how it's looking. Okay, so this is a pretty simple template. You can add more style. We can make it look different with the fonts, play around with the spacing. So this is a pretty raw template. Now let's add the final part. This is subtotal and the other details for the pricing. So let's have here a row, a column, duplicated, and now just here. Okay, maybe I'll have another one. Yeah. Okay, good. So now let's add here. This will be our subtotal. Let me work on the font. Let's tap the same size. And now let's have the subtotal amount. Here is a very interesting part. You can just add the total amount of the line items and have it being summed to display the subtotal and give it a nice formatting. This is the currency. Let me also give the same font to the number I've been giving the other items. Maybe have here a bottom border. Okay. Let me see the color I used here. It's the same one. And now let's just duplicate this row right here. And now for the shipping details, and have the shipping price. Same for the text. Let's give it a formatting currency. Here's a percentage, also currency. And finally, the total. Let's do something different here to put it in. Call more attention to it. So instead, I'll have a black background. And the font will be white. Okay, now let's have it total and total price. This is also a dynamic field. Let's increase the font here a bit and the currency formatting. And let's have a quick look. Okay, so this is how it's looking so far. We can add more details. We can have some notes, terms. So let's add it here at the bottom. Let's add another spacer and have 2 columns. So let's add here the notes. It's the same color here. Same thing here for the terms and conditions. And let's reset this color to have a black color. Add here some terms. And also to maintain the formatting, let's have this here. But instead of having this text here, we have some dynamic information for the notes. And let's have a quick look. Okay, going to the other page. We can decrease some spacing to make it fit on one page. Let's have a quick preview. Yeah, just a spacing here a bit. Okay, and there you go. Here we have a pretty simple purchase order. You can add some style, you can add a logo, make it look more professional, more like your company, have your company identity. We have Google fonts, so you can have a special font for your company. You can add them from here. And that's essentially it. Thank you very much for watching.